I'm an architect for Nokia. I work mainly in research, designing network and service automation ecosystems for 5G and 6G. And it's good to be here with you, and I would like to connect to our last presentation from Cameron on SUSE. And the main reason it's because of one an issue, which is really cool. I started, when I was taking my degree in college, I worked with SUSE. And at the time, we were already, in the 90s, we were already speaking about the virtualization. And then it was always something that, okay, what's going on? Why in the telco world, then on 2010, why don't we virtualize things? And then suddenly we saw the hyperscalers doing that. And this is the interesting part. They were able to move like Google, like Microsoft, Amazon, just to name the well-known ones. And they were able really to take it to another level, using technology that was already available, almost doing the full automation. And then suddenly what we call the telco vendors kind of were on the situation looking what was going on. And the thing is that we need really to take in consideration that the hyperscalers bring the technology that is really useful. It allows us to, in an easy way, to scale the ecosystem, to configure it. And on the other hand, the vendors itself have the expertise necessary to configure a full network. So several kind of very complex services are delivered in a massive way to end user. So by saying this, what I would like to do here is just to give you a view. There is kind of several cloud solutions that I believe we all heard about it. On-premises, private one, the infrastructure owned, but we have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, container as a service, and software as a service. Some of them we can consider to be business models itself, right? It is more the way we sell it. So basically, in one sense, we can provide an infrastructure that can be used to develop it, something, a capability or a solution, or eventually we basically offer a software that will be available to a vertical, to end user, to the one that wants to use, and can be even Microsoft Office nowadays. So by saying this, here what I would like to give you is just a brief outlook about advantage or things that we somehow know are plus coming from the digital service providers, and the ones that are advantage from the hyperscalers. So basically, by using radio frequency, and we'll see it with 6G, more of that is using radio frequency for what we call sensing and to go to extreme accuracy of a location of something, on this case of the endpoint, which could be even a sensor or could be our mobile phone, but it will be, we will have accuracies of 1 centimeter in some situations. So the other thing is about the super accurate positioning, which is also about the support to the non-terrestrial networks, as said, network slicing. These are capabilities that are brought by the network vendors basically in a logical way. We create a network which has its own requirements or as defined by the one that offers the services. And also, it's well known that the service providers usually, they have the capability or the advantages in terms of privacy and security is quite often linked to them. So the hyperscalers, they have certain use cases that are, I would say, they are becoming available, are augmented reality. They have the continuous integration, continuous development, which was something brought by them in a very smooth way, and that everyone can use it. The availability of resources, so unlimited resources, I would say, close to that. So this is something, it's quite expensive, for instance, to the service providers. Total cost of ownership, they really brought it down. And really the number of services that are available. in a common way, I would say that there is expertise from the two sides, distributed architecture too, and the AI ML expertise in the way that can be used by the service providers or even the hyperscalers. So what do we really want here, or what we expect? So what we have conceived somehow here is that, okay, we cannot simply define a single infrastructure. This is the way, and you have to do it. We need to rely on initiatives that make sense and I would say cover the requirements for the service that are offered, and also the standard development organizations which somehow guarantee the interoperability among the infrastructures. So we rely, and we spoke about that, and we will see tomorrow, the NEFIO initiative, which clearly, I would say, is giving a kind of an approach which will facilitate the configuration of the network services, and also the configuration of the edge, the deployment, and how easy it can be, for instance, to scale out the services. Highly distributed network, the really closed loops management, because we'll have closed loops across every layer, regarding business layers, service layer, even resource layer. The continuum orchestration, we see kind of independent or siloed approach in the way that each layer, when we say layer, the business, the network, the resources, they have their own orchestration, and it's about the continuum, so they are somehow linked together without jumping from one side to the other one. And one very important thing, the complexity of the network will continue to exist. And in some situations, even more, taking account the number of devices that are expected in an area. So this is exponentially growing, right? So we need to be aware that we need to bring something to really program the network and hide all this complexity. And this complexity can be from a cloud infrastructure brought by the hyperscaler and even by the service provider. So they can work together. And we believe on that. So here it's somehow, or the stack that we have identified that is used in most of the solutions, or that we also foresee for the future. And here we can see usually the old stack on premises, of course, infrastructure as a service until the virtualization, containers as a service, operating system, platform as a service, software as a service, and we conceive the network as a code solution, which will configure all the network and being able to offer the service to the end user. And this is really important for us because, as we saw, there is always kind of a focus, right? If we have infrastructure as a service, it has a tariff. If it is software as a service, it has a target. But the point here is to offer to the users, and it doesn't really matter which infrastructure we are using. We need really to use the one that brings the most advantage for on this case, either for the enterprise or for a service provider, and which would facilitate all the configuration. So this is just quickly here, just to list down a few things that we really guarantee with network as a code. Interoperability. Again, we need to make sure that they can speak about the cloud infrastructures can speak with each other, and there it comes also the standards. Being agnostic, end-to-end view, so it's not only either at the resource or the network, or no, it's the end-to-end. We need to be aware, and the network abstraction. So when we are designing or deploying the service, we should not be bringing every single aspect from every single area in each one of each one of the departments to be sure about what we are designing, then deploying, and then operating. And no limit for use cases. So I would like to jump right away to an example of such a solution, which uses the infrastructure which is somehow brought by the cloud from a hyperscaler, and also the expertise and the cells and the core domain that is brought by a service provider. So in this case is the immersive experience, which is a kind of, we use as an example a sport event. So in Tampere, a city in Finland, there is a kind, there are two teams where there is a really big rivalry in ice hockey, which is Tappara and Hilva. And it's so good, that rivalry, that these two teams were able to bring a lot of development regarding the technology that is now being used to demonstrate some of the things. For instance, the Nokia arena was created there, and one of the things it's about using for sport events. And we use that opportunity to show how the solution was working in the end. So basically, during this big event, and we will see that it's really a big event for the two teams playing. And what we did was really, and let me move, was really to give a complete new experience to the user, and how we do that. So basically, any one of you buy a ticket, right? You go to your seat, but for sure, with such a packed stadium or arena, you cannot really walk around, right? So imagine how easy it could be, really, you bought it your seat over here, and then basically you could check out what was going on in real time from some other places. So basically, that was the objective here. What we did here was, okay, we need to bring two different infrastructures, as I said, from a hyperscaler and the one from a service provider, in this case, Elisa. We brought it together, we enable, we give this capability to the ones that are, I would say, operating or supporting the arena. We define the requirements, and we have configured network slices, which basically would help which would allow everyone to have this experience. So, as I said, there is a lot of edges here, okay? Because again, we need to be as close as possible to the endpoint for some specific processing regarding the workloads, and not just waiting for something to happen at the central point. So here it's the deployment itself, is a video showing. So basically we define configure the 5G slices, deployed, and they are executed. Also the edge virtual reality encoders, specific profiles for the event, and then setting up all the cameras, and then that's it. And this is exactly what usually the guys on operations see when they are defining. So they design, but they don't need to know all the complexity that is going around. And here is the guy is sitting in the stadium. Okay, he will start. He just is using his headset. This is the 3D representation of the arena, the Nokia arena in Tampere. This was not done by us, so it was something that the guys from the arena brought and helped us, was really to build this 3D model so we could use it and facilitate then all the configuration for our solution. So you can see here, these are the cameras, 360 cameras that are available for anyone that wants to use this immersive experience. Now the person suddenly it looks like he's sitting here. He can look everywhere, and it's not only for a single person. You can use it for a huge number of users, and this is a kind of you see it's really crowded and packed. It was, if I'm not mistaken, back in June 22. Back in June, if my memory. So Tapara score. So, and I wanted really to show you, and I would like to summarize it in a way, this presentation. It's not about my model or the in order to get the advantage of an infrastructure and to be able to run so complex services, we don't want to push everyone to do as we define it. This will not be possible. What we want to do is to rely on initiatives, on standard organizations that guarantee this interoperability and the ability for someone to define its services without really the need to know how complex is the network. And this is quite important. Otherwise, it's really killing the total cost of ownership for deploying such kind of services on this kind of environments. Imagine having, and we can speak about 1 million devices per square kilometer, okay, in the near future. And it's not so far. And I can tell you, we are able to do that. And this is the way I would say that we were able to converge in a kind of a cool way that suddenly no one understands that there is an hyperscaler infrastructure there and there is also a service provider infrastructure there. So it is, I would say, I don't want to say affordable in the way that it is so easy, but anyone in terms of operation can use it. And it doesn't need to be an expertise on hyperscaler side configuring services, and it doesn't need to know every single thing about the telco world, like radio, like transport, like core. So there is no such a need. What he needs to do or to know, it's really about his own services. What are the requirements? What do I need? And that's what he needs to know. And usually every customer knows, or usually they should know really what they want to offer. And that's really the point here. It's the way we foresee how to converge somehow the two worlds. Okay, thank you. If you have any questions, I would like to take a picture with you, if possible, please. So, say cheese. And thank you. No questions, it's okay. So, any issue, please. Oh, thank you.
You say you have telco and IT. How much of the telco is actually like brownfield problems, or sort of that it used to be like that? How much
Brownfield.
of the IT sort of, or the hyperscalers' success is actually because they're greenfield?
That's a good question. So, on this case, on this particular case, the telco is greenfield, right? Is an SA 5G solution. So basically, it was easy. So most of the solutions from now on, most likely it will be SA. The issue with hyperscalers is that, in my opinion, because there is a lot of controversy here, there is the point that the service providers really didn't care because it was too easy, I would say, for them. So once that business was growing, They really didn't care. Oh, okay, it's only for the enterprise, for a small business, and suddenly it was not like that. And the issue here, the important thing is that this technology was already available. It's not rocket science that was discovered just 2 years ago or 1 year ago. It was, as I said in the beginning, I learned at college virtualization. What happened? Why not? Why didn't we really use it and give it to the end users? I think we were, for a very long time, in a cool seat, very comfortable one. And that's the point. And right now, I think we all respect each other. We reach a point that we respect. And in Nephew, just a couple of hours ago, he was saying the same thing. There is complexity here that we were not aware of. And the vendors itself, they know much better about the scale challenge, related challenge, than us. And suddenly we are in a position that we are learning. Just to show you that suddenly this is happening. So, answering directly to your question, I think there are a lot of things that happen here. Being kind of relaxed to focus on a business that will never be touched by the hyperscalers, and that's it. Amazon is a good example. Who imagined that suddenly AWS would be really a big slice of their revenue?
Maybe also for the vendors, telco vendors, there was no sort of financial upside in doing virtualization. They couldn't sort of
we could do whatever we wanted.
charge as much for that solution that like the physical sort of solution.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was too comfortable, and the evolution, in my opinion, is always brought by competition. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
And change always comes from the edge, because the people who are in the middle, they don't benefit from change.
True. Also true. Absolutely.
If you have time for one quick question.
And is the next speaker here? No? Oh, you are. What time do we have?
Yes, 3:20.
Okay, so just one more question.
We have a coffee break.
Okay, so break.
Oh, okay.
I just, I really like the picture that you showed with many layers, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, by the topic telco and IT conversion hyperscalers, I really want to see if we mix the layers from different players, right? That as a concept is good, but actually it don't work, Like if, let's say, the cloud layer is hyperscaler, hardware layer is other, above layer is from the third party. So I don't know if you can share some view, how can really start this journey, because I just want to reiterate one thing, right? In the last 10 years, I just believe that industry focused too much on the cloud of these layers and less on the automation, right? Where I think the real fruit really was if we try to keep the below layers flexible with all these hyperscalers and A and B and focus on standardization and consumption of the automation. So yeah, if you can just share some context where you see some real use cases, real deployment, right? How we can.
This is a real deployment. Okay, this is a real deployment. So this was done during the game, Tampere, Ilvi. And the thing is that the cloud, it is a hyperscaler, and there was a UPF there too, and we have used also the other one, the UPF that was brought, in this case by Elisa, and the radio. So this is a real case. It's not that layered view was kind of a 3D model representation that, to be quite honest, in fact, it was not created by us, but was given by the ones that are, I would say, responsible for the Nokia arena, because without that, we couldn't really position the cameras and to make sure where every single edge would be available, and then configure it. And that's the beauty of it, right? It was the ability to connect two worlds that somehow they are connected, but it was too comfortable sometimes for the vendors to be in a seat without taking care of what was going on by the hyperscalers. But yes, please, this is a real case. And it was advertised in the news, so. But feel free, we can connect somehow,
Yeah.
in case you need. So if not more
Thanks.
questions. Thank you.